Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am BorderWise, and welcome back to Roguelite Commentary, the series which I keep doing because I want an excuse to play more roguelikes because they're really fun and cool. And today it is Brotato, which first thing comes to mind when talking about Brotato is firstly, really good game that yet I don't play very often because there's too many good games out there. And secondly, it reminds me of just how much I'm liking these kind of auto-shooter roguelite arena things, because, like, it's great. You're never too old to find a new thing that you enjoy, even if it's part of something that you know you do enjoy, just in general, which in this case is the video games. So yeah, Brotato. You are a bro and a tato, and you've got to fight off horrible mutants, and today we're being the wildling, which means primitive weapons, and that's really cool. And I think I did pretty well in this run, actually. Did lots of cool stuff. So yeah, just you have a stick, you have a spear, and you do gotta love, you does gotta love just how much hands your character has. And it's just like, this kind of game, like, I suspect, okay, so no video game is actually easy to make. That is a myth told by people who don't make video games. But I suspect this style of game is, as video games go, somewhat easier to make than others. The actual hardest video game to make, and I hear this straight from people who make video games, is the open world RPG. So if you've ever wondered why the Elder Scrolls Skyrim was such a mess, a beautiful, entertaining mess, but still a complete mess, it's because, well, that was, like, it's a miracle it wasn't, you know, it's a miracle anything in that game actually worked at all, because open world games are just such an absolute nightmare to do, well, everything with. Like, you name a part of, like, game design, it's like, the fact that it's an open world and an RPG, just, like, it makes everything so much harder. But here in Brotato Land, where it's not an open world, it is a very small world, and mutants pop in, and you poke them with a stick until they die. And one thing I really like about Brotato is because a lot of things have, like, pros and cons, which avoids the usual problem that RPGs, and roguelites, I think to a lesser degree, but basically, like, you only get stronger and there's no drawbacks. Brotato, you'll notice a lot of the items that you can purchase in the shop, they give you a benefit, but they also have drawbacks. And a lot of the things that give a benefit, and only a benefit, it tends to be not a particularly big one. Like, here, for instance, like, just this little level-up screen, it's not major things, it adds up over time, but you can see, like here, like, things like the Claw Tree, melee damage, crit chance up, but minus max HP, and then Broken Mouth is plus 5 max HP, but minus 1 HP regeneration, and yeah, it's like, it just opens up so much more build options, because it's like, you gotta balance your strengths and weaknesses to a much greater degree. That being said, in this particular run, I tend to try and only get items and skills and perks and whatever that have, like, objectively good value and, like, no drawbacks, because I'm boring like that. That tends to be the safer way to go. The boring but practical way to play, so to speak. But yeah, I wish more games did that. That's actually why, and I guess I should find an excuse to play Path of Exile on the channel at some point. By the way, I have done a one-off of this game before. I don't remember how well I did. I think I did like 2 runs and I don't know, didn't do incredibly well, but that's part of the fun of roguelites, is just you get your ass kicked, which gives you the, you know, the motivation to come back and try again. Again and again and again until you finally win. And yeah. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, Path of Exile. Like, it's, I don't know if Path of Exile made that popular or whatever, but, the whole thing is, like, your perks, some of them are only positive, and then some of them give really powerful benefits, but at a severe cost, and it's just, you know, that's just more interesting, you know. Like, And like, well, since I'm on just the role of like talking about like video games apart from the one you're seeing on screen now, I'd like to roast Assassin's Creed Valhalla a bit, because I was playing that for a bit and I've kind of stopped because it's kind of just not that interesting compared to all these indie games with actual passion, love, and creativity in them, as opposed to Assassin's Creed another one. Not that it's bad, it's just not interesting, really. Which is really sad, because it's like thousands of hours of work put into it. But anyways, like, the skill tree in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, in comparison, like, to Path of Exile and even Brotato, which is this game, like, you're seeing right now, in case anybody forgot. I'm saying that because I almost forgot, apparently. Valhalla is just boring, because it's all just beneficial, there's no pros and cons. And eventually you just end up with everything, and it's just like, it means that every playthrough is going to be pretty much the same, isn't it? You're just going to get everything, and you only get stronger. And it's got, I guess, a balance problem, really, because like certain skills just make the game like so much easier. Like the one where you dodge just in the nick of time and you slow down time, and then you get free hits on dudes. That's the technical language, so yeah. Let's not talk about Ubisoft being creatively bankrupt. Let's talk more about Brotato and how you can get bats. I just realized that, just looking at that, thinking like, bats? Really? Why bats in particular? But then again, why not bats? Also, like, I just realized bat is plus 2% lifesteal, which I guess is like, it's meant to be a reference to vampire bats. And, you know, most bats are not vampire bats. Bats are kind of cute. Like, if you want to talk about anything in the world that's, like, really ugly and really cute at the same time, that's bats. Because they're, like, oh my goodness, a lot of bats just look as if, like, you know, they've been hit in the face with something unpleasant. But they also look kind of, like, cute at the same time. Like fruit bats. Which are not like that. They're just, well, they're called flying foxes because they've got kind of that foxy type face. Foxy as in like a fox, not foxy as in sexy. Get your mind out of the gutter, please. We're playing Brotato. This game is rated G for everybody. I don't actually know if it is. But yeah, so, yeah, recycle that. What was I saying? Alright, so bats. I actually had a different thought, but I think I've just kind of lost it. Oh boy. Just what am I talking about? Wow, I just had a moment where I spaced out and stopped realizing what I was on about. Man. Oh yeah, so oh yeah, I actually wanted to talk about the game itself for once. Like, we've only been doing this for almost 10 minutes, and I'm not talking much about the game you're seeing. This game starts getting hard, so to speak, when basically the enemies that, well, of course it's when the ranged enemies show up, and they just keep spitting out stuff. Also, like, you really gotta... This game's in early access, by the way. Like, I recorded this a while ago, so this is one of them commentaries which is like this. I've been sitting on this for a while, and then, you know, it's just kind of, you know, left it for a while, and now I'm in the mood for a roguelike commentary, and here we are. So, hopefully this should get updated a bit more. Actually, just while we're here, I'm going to check, see if Brotato is still being actively updated, because if it isn't, I'm gonna feel really bad. Alright? Because it'll just be... It's sad when a game dies. Like, you get that occasionally. Brotato. Video game. Steam community. Alright, so update on the 4th of on the 14th of February. What month are we in now? Okay, so that was a while ago. So hopefully that's fairly recent, right? Hopefully this game isn't dead. I really hope it's not dead, because it's like this is good. This is interesting. It's like, you know, you can tell this is like, how many people are working on this? Hold on. I can find anything on the internet. Okay, let's see. Alright, developer, Blobfish. Game developer. Oh yeah, this is one guy, so of course this is gonna take a while. Alright, so yeah. Blobfish. I've been making games since 2018. Space Gladiators, Lost Potato, and Brotato. Join my newsletter to get devlogs, tips, behind the scenes, and more directly in your inbox. So this is like the... This is indie... This is like the indie of indie games. This is just one person. That's so cool. Like, I really... You know what? You know what? Here, I'm gonna let you in on a secret here. On, like, what I really want this channel to be. I really want this to be, like... You know... A channel that promotes just good games, like prioritizing indie games, of course, but just any game that I reckon is good. I'd love to do that, because even if I can't make games myself, I would just love to be able to share, like, you know, the good games with all you fine people, just to be so good. And that's because, I don't know, games are awesome, man. Games got me through school, because I hated school. I had no friends. Games were my friends. Also my history teacher, but that's beside the point. My history teacher actually might have had an affair with a student, but that's not confirmed. Whoa, yeah. Okay, so getting back to the... Alright, sorry to drop that bomb on you. Let's get back to the game. 2% attack speed for every 1% dodge you have. Retromation's hoodie. That sounds like a reference, but I'm not sure what to. Man, I'm getting emotional now thinking about video games. So yeah. Man. I like video games, man. It's why I make videos on them. Derp. Anyway, Brotato, it's just... You gotta love it. Also, really am starting to reckon I should try my hand at animation and stuff like that, because, like, you know, it's... I don't want to say, like, I could do it. Like, I probably could. Like, here's your motivational thought for the day. If you're feeling down... Which I occasionally feel down, because everyone occasionally feels down. Some of us more than others. Life is unfair. You can do stuff. Always remember that. Like, if you put in the time and effort, you probably aren't going to be the very best at whatever it is. Because that's really hard. You're up against 8 billion other people. So, competition is stiff to be the best at anything. But, you can be... better at it than you currently are, and you can do things well enough to enjoy them at the very least, and get some kind of satisfaction out of them. So if whatever it is you're struggling with, you watching this right now, just remember that you can do it. To a greater or lesser degree, you can do it. I believe in you. If no one else believes in it, in you, I do. Whether it's work, or school, or some kind of thing you just want to get better at, you can do it. Because it is physically possible. And if other people can do it, well, that's perhaps not always the best metric, because you are different from other people. But yeah, it is physically possible. And don't beat yourself up if you fail. Be like Brotato. Brotato fails over and over again, but they always... Brotatoes, plural, I guess, because there's lots of characters. But they always come back for more to beat up them mutants. See how I managed to work the motivational speech back into what's actually happening on screen? That's because I'm good at this. Don't ask me what this is, because I don't know. But yeah. Motivational speaking. We're going on a little conversational journey here, because Brotato's just good for that. When you're just watching a little Brotato walking around beating the hell out of stuff with sticks, spears, and stones, like that's just, you know, it's just something that gets the mind rolling. But yeah, also, I forgot to mention that one of the reasons this character is kind of good is because with primitive weapons, so that's the sticks and stones will break mutants' bones, they have lifesteal on them, so that's why I think I did pretty well, because you can just, if you're really in a pinch, you just walk straight through enemies and just beat the snot out of them and absorb their life essence through your mighty stick. So yeah, that's, look at that, I'm just eating damage and then just you do more damage and you do great. Beautiful, beautiful. Whee! Also, I love the art style for this, it's just like, Here's the thing, here's a realization I had about art, and it's not really a unique realization, it's not something that I'm claiming any credit for, because it was kind of inspired by, wait for it, a Kurzgesagt video, and if you don't watch Kurzgesagt, you totally should. It literally means, in a nutshell, in German. Kurzgesagt, in a nutshell, means in a nutshell. And it's just science. It is the very German way of doing exciting, educational internet content. I don't know what accent this is. I'm going to slip into my not completely Transylvanian accent, because that's the only accent I can do. But anyway, there's a video talking about, like, you know, cave paintings and stuff, and there's a lot to unpack in that video. It's great for your brain. But one of the things is that art is about as old as our species is, possibly older. So in a weird way, art is not negotiable for us. We need to make it in order to be mentally healthy, or consume it in order to be mentally healthy. Like, imagine a moment, for a moment, a life without art. Like, so no creative writing, no poetry, no novels, no songs, no music, no pictures, no games, so to speak, no video games, no movies, nothing like that. Just how awful and boring would life be if that was the case? What would be left? Like, nothing really much. Life would not be worth living. So art is simultaneously extremely valued and, like, tremendously undervalued by society in general. Mostly because most people are not professional artists and they don't realize just how much work goes into it. So it's not seen as, you know, labor deserving of much reward. And also because artists, personality-wise, will do art even at their own cost. So it's like they are ripe for exploitation by people who are not creative and not artistic, but are better at the whole social networking and manipulation thing, which is sad. But the realization I had, which I'm not entirely sure came from my brain, and this is totally something that makes sense commentating over a game in which you beat up mutants non-stop, is that life is art. Because what is art? Art is one of those things that nobody will agree on a definition with. People have never quite managed it, because it's like, what is art? And people have been bickering around that for, well, forever. But one definition I quite like is art is the arrangement of something, so that it conveys a concept that elicits an intellectual or emotional response. So, basically, if you take a whole bunch of, say, I don't know, pigments and stuff, and you take a canvas and you dump it in a pile, that's not a painting, because it's not arranged correctly. But if you take that exact same amount of stuff and you arrange it in the right way, suddenly it's a painting of, like, I don't know, a duck or something. And it elicits an intellectual and emotional response. The intellectual response is, oh, that's a duck, or it is a depiction of a duck. And the emotional response can be, well, whatever emotional response you have to a duck. You can be, oh, cute duck, or, oh my goodness, a duck. One of the most perverted and deranged birds that exist. And I'm not going to tell you why that popped to mind when I thought of ducks. But if you know, you know, and if you don't know, just Google how ducks mate, and you will be tragically enlightened. But here's the thing, life's the same thing. If you take everything, all the bare elements you need for life, and just dump them all in a pile, you're not going to get a living thing. You're just going to get, well, a mess. You're going to get a whole bunch of elements, some of them being quite reactive, so you'll get probably an explosive mess, literally, because oxygen is in there, for one thing, and water, and sodium, and other things like, you know, stuff that actually doesn't play well together. So if you take, like, all the stuff that you need to create a living thing, be it a single-celled organism or something big and complicated like a human being or a whale or whatever, dump it all in a pile, that's not alive. It's just dead stuff all in a pile. But if you arrange it correctly, in the correct order, what you get is a living thing. So you get, I don't know, just every living thing that exists is dead stuff. And again, this is very much stuff either learned or kind of kurzgesagt inspired the thought process. Man, I love that channel. It's so good. It's better than Brotato. Yes, I said it. Brotato is very, very good. Kurzgesagt is even better. And whenever they make a video game, you better believe I'm going to play it. But anyway, so life, in a way, is art. Because the difference between something that isn't art and something that is the arrangement of it. It's the exact same stuff, but it's just arranged in a specific way, and suddenly it becomes art. It is the pattern that determines whether it is art or not. The pattern and the arrangement. And life is exactly the same. It's not the stuff in it. It is the arrangement of the stuff. The arrangement, the pattern of the stuff. So, in a weird way, art is non-negotiable for us living things because we are art. Think about that for a moment. That kind of like, and it kind of puts your life into perspective a little bit. It's like, am I making art? Am I consuming art? Because if I'm not doing at least one of those two things, the art that is me is not satisfied. That's a profound thought. It's perhaps maybe it's slightly too profound for something to be said over a video game in which you are beating the snot out of bug-eyed mutants. But you know what? That's the great thing about roguelike commentary. It's just like there's fun stuff happening on screen, and now I'm just blathering on in the background about whatever. And you better believe that any sensible Brotato will be thinking a lot about, you know, what is life? What is life? Am I life? Am I love? Well, I guess Brotatos are robots now. They're not. They are Brotatos. That's very different. Yeah, and then you get into really trippy stuff like, are viruses alive? Like, what is the line between alive and not alive? Because viruses don't fit a lot of the, you know, the prerequisites for life. Like, they don't reproduce on their own, they can't move, they don't ingest or use energy. They're just little bits of genetic information randomly floating around, and when they bump into something that they can just happen to have the correct protein sequence to crack open and enter, that's how they make more of themselves. They hijack the reproductive abilities of actual living things in order to make more of themselves. Which is wacky, and scientists have no real idea how, like, viruses first came to be. Like how does something like that happen? It's crazy. So, yeah, these are Brotato thoughts, I guess. How did we get here? When we're playing and looking at Brotato, how did we get here? From like Brotato to like really profound nature of life and existence. This is why video games are great, and this is why art, including video games, is so good, because even if you don't make the video game yourself, thinking about the video game and looking at the video game, it can spur your brain onto interesting paths. And it might be that, or it might be just the 2 glasses of Pepsi I just had, one of which had a vitamin tablet dissolved in it. So I might have just shortened my lifespan by a year or 2. But also I'm kind of hesitant to recommend that because I have weird tastes occasionally. But yeah, if you've never tried, it's a Berocca tablet, by the way. So B-E-R-O-C-C-A. It's it's a vitamin drink. It's a vitamin supplement, which is kind of a scam, honestly, because your body doesn't actually absorb vitamins from those things very well, which means you pee a lot of it just straight back out. Which is why, if you have them vitamin supplement drink things, your piss is going to be an extremely vivid shade of green, which is actually kind of fun, really. You've got to get your jollies where you can. But yeah, it's just, mostly I just drink that because it is actually cheaper than than sugar-free Sprite, which I would drink otherwise. And yes, I drink water as well, because, you know, water is, you know, the magic potion of life. But yeah, I just randomly today, apropos of nothing really, curiosity I guess, just dissolved a vitamin tablet, a Barocca, in Pepsi Max, just to see what would happen. It was actually really good. And man, oh man, that wakes you up, something amazing, because the sudden little vitamin jolt from Barocca is like, whee! It gives you a little bit of a jolt. And then Pepsi Max, which doesn't have sugar in it, by the way, it has artificial sweeteners, which, to cut a long story short, they're okay for you. There's a lot of scaremongering around artificial sweeteners. They're fine. All the major groups that study these things and figure them out have declared them fine. Don't panic. I'm healthy, I swear. I eat my greens. But anyway, so Pepsi Max does have a crap ton of caffeine in it, so you get that vitamin jolt and caffeine, and suddenly like, whee! Brotato! Ah ha 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 ha! Brotato! Whee! Multiple arms, sticks, spears, whee! Trees, radioactive fruit. Where am I? What am I doing? Uh-oh, that's not good. So yeah, this is where the lifesteal's getting in real handy, because it's just absolutely beating the tar out of these horrible mutant things coming to get me. I don't even know what these things are called. I should perhaps look that up. Damn. It's really good. Yes, upgrade your fingers. For reasons. And now my foot's twitching. Maybe I am going to... Damn. 5,000 damage. See, here's the wacky thing. I'm getting the... Every time I do one of these roguelike commentaries, I want to play the game more after watching it, because I get to sit back, actually look at the game, because that's a funny thing. Like, you don't look at a game the same way when you're playing it versus when you're watching it. Which is why it actually makes a lot of sense to occasionally watch video game footage instead of play it yourself, because you notice stuff that you otherwise would not. I, for one thing, am having a much better look at all the art in this game, because I can just look wherever I like. I don't need to focus on where my character's going, which is, in these kind of auto-shooter games, that tends to be mainly what you're looking at. You're just looking out like where you should step next, which is safe. So yeah, that's really cool, really fun, really awesome. I like it. You can just sit at things and just the idle animations of just all these things. It's actually quite simple, because all of them are just kind of it's just like very straightforward. You can kind of tell that this is made by one person who is actually being quite efficient by how they're making this game. Like, all the animations, like, you know, they're just kind of bobbing up and down as they move, but that's all they need. You get the idea. You can see how they hurt you. You know, because they're a horrible mutant and they're probably toxic to touch. And, yeah, it's really cool. And, like, just watching this is making me want to play more Brotato. You know what I should do? I should start streaming a lot more. Like, I stream once a week at the moment. By the way, shout out Twitch, twitch.tv/BorderWise. Go there. It's mostly From the Depths, which is, I guess, the indie game I've helped promote the most, using my modest YouTube powers. Be sure to use your YouTube... I tripped over my own face saying that. Be sure to use whatever YouTube powers you have for good instead of evil. Too many people use their YouTube powers for evil. Content creators being sponsored by, I don't know, Pepsi probably. Hashtag not sponsored. I drink Pepsi, but I'd need a lot of assurances from them that they're trying to be ethical all around before I accept any money from them in the future. So that's my challenge to you, Pepsi. Be less crap. Because you're a major corporation, and so you're probably being crap in some way. What was my point I was trying to make? Oh yeah, so that's on the content creator side, like sponsors from people like up to no good, spreading misinformation, creating clickbait. Oh no, I'm dead. And then, you know, it's just using your powers for evil. But yeah. And then in the comment section, being mean in the comments, is evil. Don't do it. So, that's basically it for this video on Brotato. Man, that was a sudden stop. Just slam the brakes, why don't you? Stop. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Support me on Patreon or YouTube membership if you like. It really helps. And there's fun perks in it for you. Thank you to all my current supporters, and I will see you next time in Roguelite commentary. Farewell.